You're watching Coffee and Cannabis. My name is Arden, or like a pirate, didn't like dinner. Today I have Ashley Casanova with me. She's a good friend of mine, fellow comedian. And we're going to get high, drink some coffee, talk about some stuff, and, just explore life. It's May 4th, 2020, coronavirus lockdown. And we're still under lockdown through the foreseeable future. So we'll continue to do this podcast remote. So so Ashley, thank you, welcome. And
thanks for having me.
yeah, before we get started, I'm going to ask my audience to join me in a deep breathing exercise. If you want to follow along, feel free. But yeah, let's get started.
Ooh,
All right, nice and relaxed.
lovely.
Yeah. So Ashley, it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
I got the heck out of LA. I'm in an undisclosed location. But I am close enough by that I can always make it back to the city. But yeah, are you in the city? Have you escaped the city?
I am locked down in good old Los Angeles. I am in a lovely place called the Ghetto. If you guys ever heard of Watts, that is WATTS, and I'm fondly referred to as Snow Bunny, and I take that with pride. No, I've been out here for going on 7 years, so I've been locked in my lovely apartment. Lovely. Where I live alone, so boy, this has been testing on my mental strength and emotional strength. So
yes, I am also alone here where I'm at, but I enjoy that. I'm kind of a solo person. I can do this, and this can last me for like 6 months in terms of just doing over video and stuff like that. I'm used to being solitary.
Well, I mean, I chose to live alone on purpose. Like, I can honestly only imagine how much more insane I'd be going if I had a roommate or if I was with a supposed significant other. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of digging it. Like, if I need to escape a little bit, I have like maybe 1 or 2 people who are also quarantining, and it's been so sad. I saw my co-host for Writer's Block, Miss Mandy Martino, and she wouldn't even hug me, Arden. It was so sad. I was like, I missed her so much. And like, yeah, she wouldn't hug me. We sat multiple feet away and talked for like only like 45 minutes, an hour. So it's been really interesting. Thank God for the internet and Skype and Facebook and anytime where I can actually see and talk to people. I've talked more to my family and friends than I normally would. So that's kind of a blessing.
Yeah.
But,
no. Well, that since you bring up Writer's Block, let's introduce yourself to the audience. So, I gave a weak intro. Feel free.
It's a great intro.
Yeah.
So much bass in my voice.
Oh, thank you. But feel free to inform the audience about Writer's Block and also any other projects and things you've got going on, how you like to talk about yourself to your audience, those sorts of things.
Oh, sure. I get to plug away right now? I'll do it. Okay, so I'm Ashley Casanova, as Arden so lovingly introduced me with all that advice. So I'm the creator of Writer's Block, which is an all off-the-cuff stand-up comedy show. I mentioned Mandy Martino, who is my co-producer and co-host. She's amazing, such a great girl, so organized, which is why I'm so happy to have her on board. Other projects I'm working on, we kind of dabbled in the Writer's Block podcast, the more so live podcast you can catch every Sunday that I do with Charlotte Garcia. It's on Instagram Live, 5 p.m. Sunday. It's called Sipping and Spilling, so you'll see us drinking and spilling all that gas. Whatever you want to talk about, nothing's off the table. And also you'll catch some of my exclusive content that'll be coming out soon for Rizzle TV. Fingers crossed on that, but we just signed some good little contracts, so hopefully things go through, and you'll be seeing some other like small exclusive content for them. So
what was the name of that outfit?
Rizzle TV, RIZZLE.
Rizzle.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I think they're kind of like stocking up on some of their stuff first, and then they're gonna kind of do like a big like blah. So I mean, I can't talk too much about it, but
Well, yeah,
yeah,
I
they seem
understand
like
that.
gonna be a
Nice.
great little outlet. So we'll see. And like one other project that's like pretty NDA, but whatever.
Yeah.
So
Well,
hopefully that comes to fruition. Who knows? Weird shit happening right now.
I know it's this is a renaissance for content. I'm telling you, in terms of I've been joking with some people about it's the age of Instagram Live, because everybody's been going live nonstop on Instagram, even if they have nothing to go live about. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm like, come on, don't do that. But
Right? I'm like, oh, I'm so skeptical about like the live open mics and stuff, and like
yeah,
that's just what's so difficult for us comedians right now, Arden. I'm sure you felt it. Is like stand-up comedy as a whole is just such a lovely conversation with the audience, and if you have no fucking audience, we just look like crazy people talking to ourselves.
yeah, and also
uh,
you've got to balance, because a lot of people haven't done the web type stuff before, or a lot of podcasting, and so
oh yeah.
the problem is you can't talk over each other, right? And people, especially in comedy, there's a lot of crisscross that can happen if people don't give pause, and because you want to build and you want to keep it going. And
Mhm.
especially, I've seen some of the Zooms where I'm just like, I can't understand anybody because everybody's talking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's hard to pick up on those like small social cues, like
Mm,
someone leaning in to want to say something, or like, just like the like you can I mean, it's definitely difficult, even though Zoom I don't have the app, but I guess props to them. What I've heard is probably one of the best apps for live comedy right now.
yeah,
So
Facebook's
you
trying to
can,
catch
you
up
can
real quick.
hear people. I'm rolling a blunt right now. So I look so awkward. I'm breaking up weed.
I'm
So
I'm 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 packing a bowl as we speak. Um, but no, it's I mean, we're all trying to adjust to the new normal, so to speak, and this is, you know, one way we've figured out how to do it. Is it the best way? We don't know. We're gonna keep trying, and
yeah, thankfully it's an outlet that's available that we can all easily take advantage of. One thing that I found though, is which is kind of disheartening because like God bless like Laugh Factory and other like major comedy outlets who are known for their live shows. They're doing live sets constantly, which I'll chime in on when I can. And just some of the comments, especially from fellow comedians, is just like, who do you think you are, kind of thing. Like, okay, there's this one specific girl, I won't mention her name because I'm sure she's not a good comic anyway, so burn. Anyway, she was like, she was just so upset that this guy doing live at Laugh Factory, how we are, no audience,
right.
and they were like, oh, look, it's another white male, he's not funny, blah blah blah. She's like an Asian female, and
Mm,
she's like talking shit about people booking at the Comedy Store, and I'm like, I know those people, like, you don't have a leg to stand on. And she's just like, oh, they're never gonna make it in this no audience world. I have 3,000 YouTube or subscribers or whatever. I'm just like, then why are you here bashing people who are actually doing their work? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a fellow comedian and you're a true supporter of live comedy, and you're a true supporter of the arts and performers, you wouldn't be going out of your way to talk shit about people who are just trying to work right now
oh
as an
yeah,
artist. So it's like, I was just like, girl, who do you think you are? Like, if you're a real supporter and a real lover of the arts, like, you should be. If you're not a part of something like this right now, you should at least like not be bashing on people trying to keep this going,
right.
because who knows, exactly how you said, who knows how it's going to be. you
Yeah,
know, we got to test the waters. Like,
yeah.
it's a renaissance, a new beginning. You're absolutely right. And whether I highly doubt it's going to fully revert back to how it was, just because now we have all these new little outlets we've been playing with. So
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
that's the thing. I mean, you're gonna see more people try touring, I think. Oh, what are you rapping with today?
So my bestie calls me Peach. This is a white owl, white peach,
Huh?
and smells so good. I'm just gonna split it. I roll some pretty good blunts, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And the strain I'm rolling right now is called Strawwana,
Oh,
which is great. Yeah. It's a nice little sativa dominant hybrid.
nice.
Yeah, so I'm just splitting this blunt. I
Yeah.
always leave a little bit of tobacco at the butt so you don't waste your weed. That is
Yep.
an Ashley tip for you. And then I only like a little bit of cigar tobacco, so I'll split it a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I'm not a blunt smoker. I quit smoking cigars because I was like a 2 cigar a day smoker, and
two cigars. What
yeah,
size?
60 ring gauge, probably 6.5 inch. So
Oh, that's pretty good.
yeah, full deal. And I would smoke Maduros, so nice dark. Yeah.
Wow. I worked at a cigar shop for a couple years, so
Oh,
I
nice.
actually know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. So like, my go-to would be like a punch, but I got into what was what was the name of that? El Azteca was the brand, a Honduran brand that I found that I really liked. They had a few really nice ones that were affordable, and so I used to get those by the box, and they were great.
Oh, nice.
hmm But I quit smoking, and so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back to any nicotine. So when people were like, "You want to smoke blunts?" I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good with just
You know,
weed."
that makes a lot of sense. That's smart on you for that. I mean, I used to smoke cigars and cigarettes, and I worked at the cigar shop back in Yuma, Arizona, which is where I'm from. There's this place called MD Cigars. The owner just passed not too long ago, too. Anyway, dude, they only would give us breaks if there were smoke breaks. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna start smoking. Like, and you could smoke indoors. It's still one of the
Oh,
only places in Arizona you can smoke indoors and stuff. So, but yeah, I tried. I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes unless I'm like really drunk. And then, as far as cigars go, I'm still a fan. And I think I'm still a fan of tobacco. It's a nice buzz. Just like I just don't do it regularly, but I do enjoy it in blunts and the occasional cigar, maybe puff of an awful fucking cigarette. But
yeah.
Camel Reds are the best cigarettes if you ever get them. Cotton filter, organic shit.
Huh.
Anyway,
I do not enjoy cigarettes. I won't
good.
I won't date people that smoke cigarettes anymore.
That's good, dude. Because like honestly, cigarettes they taste like shit, and
hmm
you have to make yourself be addicted.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna take a hit and be like, oh, this is the shit. Like let me keep at it. Pass me another. No, you have to like scrape that taste off your tongue, and it'll like be spitting constantly, choking your ass off, and you're
Yep.
not gonna look cool.
No.
Like you're not like that was the major selling point. Like you're not gonna look cool smoking a cigarette your first 20 times. You're not gonna look cool.
Yeah.
So and it's gonna take that many times for you to be addicted, and then you're gonna be addicted to cigarettes and look like a fucking loser anyway. So good job.
Yep. Yep. No, yeah, I'm glad I didn't get hooked on tobacco. And I quit booze, so booze is out, and that's fine.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, I did that a few years ago, and best decision I ever made. I mean, I had a problem with booze. Booze and I got along too well. So
I can't say I'm not in the same boat. I mean, my coffee is heavily laced with whiskey, so
well, I mean, but if you are a person who can tolerate alcohol and use it responsibly, then I'm not gonna yuck your yum. But for for me, it's just personally, I can't drink responsibly. At least I can't trust myself to always drink responsibly. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna just stick to weed, and weed's gonna be my happy time.
no, dude, I totally feel you. 'Cause, like, drinking responsibly has so many connotations that people don't fully take the time to, I guess, describe them according to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, like, how do you define drinking responsibly for you? And like people be like, oh, like not over drinking, not like physically hurting yourself. But like me, it's like, don't be a fucking sleazeball. Like, don't be like, you know what I mean? Like, anytime like I would go out, like not only would I drink a lot, I'll drink a lot of people under the table with whiskey and like beer, and I say that with a smile because it's kind of a fun thing to say, but it is also like crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're young and you live, and it's like, but you get to the point where you're just like, okay, I just spent one night fucking off, and then the next day recovering,
Yep.
and all that time, whether it's not normal, like not necessarily like bringing you down, you could have been using that time to further yourself, or at least the next day you're like going to be in a better mindset or in a better physical state to be like, okay, what can I do for myself today? now that I'm not worrying about like recovery, I can actually like focus on what can I do? Like how can I help myself? So
Yeah,
um
I don't find myself losing days of the week anymore. Where
yeah,
it's
that's
like,
impressive.
yeah, because that's the thing. Recovering from alcohol is a day-long process. I mean, just recovering all your faculties and getting back to zero, especially when you're, a heavy drinker. It's yeah.
Yeah, thankfully it's like I mean, thankfully I don't suffer much from hangovers.
Mhm.
But it's still I don't go to sleep until like 3, 4 in the morning, or I won't. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, and then the next day you're just like, oh well, I was up till 4. It's okay to sleep till 1. You know, it's like, and then now half your fucking day is gone because you're gonna take 2 hours to wake up and like get your shit together, and then now it's already the sun's going down. You're like, what am I gonna do? Let's drink.
Yep.
It's a terrible cycle, but I'm still in it, but I'm definitely a lot more aware of my drinking. And you know what? Thankfully, because we've been stuck at home, holy fuck, I've saved so much money.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily have, like, I would just, because I worked at an Irish pub,
Yep.
Jameson's in Santa Monica. When this is all over, y'all are welcome to visit me if I still have a job. And I used to run them like there way back. Did you ever come to that? Anyway, yeah, after work, I would only work day job, like the day shifts, because I'd be like, okay, I need to go out and like, do comedy. If I had a show or mic to go to, and I'm like, okay, I'm off at like 5 or 6. My son starts at like 7 or 8. What do I do for 2 hours? I can't drive home. That's an hour and a half drive. It's like, I might as well drink. And then you start drinking, and you're like, okay, well now I'm buzzed. I
Yep.
probably shouldn't be driving or performing right now because I don't perform intoxicated
Okay.
because I've experienced that. Like I'll maybe have a beer before, but that's it.
Yep.
I'll smoke, of course, but I don't perform intoxicated. So then at that point, it's like, oh, well, it kind of blew my chances on that. I'm already feeling good. Like we're fine. And then it's a whole day wasted.
Yep.
That's me personally. That's my personal experience and how I have troubles with like drinking and like I just prioritizing and organizing myself. So I'm really thankful for this at least. Like maybe I should just take that hour and drive home and work on my set and like regroup or whatever, or just like go to the area where the mic's going to be at, or I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what's going to work better for you for sure. Like, yeah, again, it's like just breaking down what a toxic relationship means to you, or if something's going to work for you or not, and how can you help and define that.
Yeah. Well, let's get on some kind of topic. Weed and comedy. All right. We're both comedians. We both smoke weed.
Yeah.
And weed and comedy kind of go hand in hand, as far as I'm concerned. It, at least today.
Yeah. What a great show. I love it.
Yeah. But let's do your own personal. When did you get into weed? How'd you get into weed? And then how do you find it and comedy kind of go together in your own life?
Oh, awesome. I love it. 3-part question. Okay, so weed.
So
First
wait,
time I tried.
because this is driving me nuts. Finish rolling the blunt, right? Because I'm watching you roll it, and I think I just want to watch you finish. Finish.
Ooh, I'm just gonna let your OCD coast right now, Arden.
Yeah.
Suck it up. I press this in and slowly make it perfect. Okay. So me and weed. I was like, I think the first time I tried weed was like relatively late. It was like my freshman year in high school,
Mhm.
and I was hanging out with like one of my oldest best friends from my hometown, like since elementary, and one of our neighborhood guys, like one of the boys, like a couple years older than us, whatever. He was like, hey, you guys want to smoke some weed, blah, blah, blah. And we're just like, we're like, sure. Why not? Oh my God, Arden, I haven't remembered this story in so long. So we're like, sure, why not? And we're sitting there thinking, because he's like, like, come to my place in like an hour, and we're like, all right, we'll do that. So we're like sitting there talking, like, oh my God, this is gonna be so cool. We're gonna go smoke weed for the first time, whatever. And we're just like talking about it, and we're like, don't you get like the munchies after? So like we like were thinking about it. So we bought like these fat fucking burritos to like take over so we can like munch out later. Like we're just like planning it all out. And we ended up going over there and it was like they made a foil pipe, you know, like classic, like out of aluminum foil, which kids never smoke out of that.
No,
just grab an apple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't burn aluminum. And then it had a little foil pipe. And oh my god, I just remember it's silly. Okay, minor segue. I was dating this guy for like 3 months or so at that time, and I went to a Catholic high school. And he was like, I called him like after I just got done smoking. I know people are like, oh, you don't really feel high your first time. I did. It was just like, especially, I don't know if it's just the weed then, but it was a lot more visual, you know, like a lot more like color popping, a lot more like, you know, like the outlines of like trees and colors, kind of like, you know, it's almost like, I guess like an aura type of effect, you know. And so I called my boyfriend and I told him I had smoked weed. He was so mad at me. He was so mad. He was like, if you do that again, I'm gonna break up with you, blah blah blah. I guess he had issues with his mother, who was no longer with them. I mean, not like she was dead. She just did a bunch of drugs before.
Right.
And like this motherfucker, we went a year dating. I never smoked weed during that time. He cheats on me with a fat girl, and then ends up working at Circle K, which I'm not saying that's a bad job or not, but he's just like, my friend saw him, he's like, yeah, dude, he was working at Circle K, and he's just loaded on acid, just telling everybody. And I was like, you shitbag. So then after that, like, me and my neighbor's friends were homies, we'd just slip him, this is like about the prime of the internet, but my best friend's stepdad, like, had a subscription for years, Playboy subscription, and he was like 20, 30 years older than her mom. So this is like back in the 70s fucking porno mag, like supreme shit. And we would go through and like decide like which ones were important, and like we just like trade them to the neighborhood boys for weed. It was a great it was honestly a great transaction. So that's how I started smoking weed.
Yep.
And then the guy who I went with afterwards, I just like became a huge stoner then. Huge stoner. So yeah. And as far as like comedy and weed, it just reminds me of Grandma's Boys, one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
Love that movie. Back when DVDs were a thing, that shit would be on fucking repeat, dude.
Yep.
We'd just be sitting there, like, whatever house we had at the time, like, all of my friends just, like, lived together. You know, I left home when I was, like, 17 to go stay with my boyfriend at the time. And, so we would just play that shit on repeat. And I think the connotation with weed and comedy is, like, oh, if you smoke weed, you're gonna be goofy, you're gonna think things are funny, you're gonna automatically, you know what I mean? So I think that naturally has, like, a fit to it. But honestly, I know a lot of people who can't perform high, or who don't smoke, or who don't like, so I think it's very specific to you. Like, if this is you naturally, if you're a natural smoker, like this is like your personality's developed, and it just so happens that weed is a big part of your life, then I think then it's like, okay, well, you smoke, that's how you get, like, whatever, like, that's just you. But I don't think it's for everybody. Like, I've seen people try and smoke and do sets, like, you've seen, like, shows like that, and, like, some people just, like, fucking bomb, you know, or, like, they're just, like, so spaced out. It reminds me of this weird study they did on rats, and they gave a mouse, so they trained a mouse to push a button at 12 seconds, you know, anyways, they trained him to push a button at 12 seconds, and if he pushed it exactly 12 seconds, he would get a food pellet, like a little treat. And so they have this mouse trained to do that. They get this mouse, they give the mouse cocaine, and they test his time response. And they give the mouse weed, and they test his time response. And both of them were 4-second deviation from the original time, which is interesting. But the whole point of that story is that any substance like that is going to affect your timing.
Right.
And comedy is such timing is such an integral part of timing. I mean, timing is such an integral part of comedy that if you're not aware of how things are timed, and if you're taking a substance that you're just not going to be in tune with that, your comedy's probably not going to be that good.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say for that. I smoke, period. So it's like, sorry, this blunt is taking forever because I'm talking. But just making Arden so nervous right now.
It's driving
me. I mean, that's super fat, so it's like,
yeah.
It's like fitting. It's like fitting me into a corset right now.
But yeah, no, comedy and timing is everything. Like, you can look back at the 80s and the 90s and watch the coked up sets, and you're like, everything is just happening too fast. It's there's no waiting for the audience.
It's like it's a hyperactive conversation. You're just yelling at them at that point.
And that was the thing. It was loud noise comedy, right? And people enjoyed that. It was, just the half of it was the energy, and the intensity of it made it funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But now it's audiences, they want more from it. They want, at least I think, they want a little more, thought behind it, timing, wit, cadence.
Yeah.
The mechanics have to be polished. And so, yeah, I've seen comics eat it because they were stoned. And then I know comics that do quite well stoned because that's their standard.
Yeah.
So it depends on the individual. There are those sets I do stoned, those sets I don't do stoned, but it doesn't seem to affect my performance any, because I just kind of project the stoned energy to the audience, and they're just like, oh, either way, he seems stoned, but that's half of it, is I'm trying to turn the audience on their head by being smart stoned.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you say. The content has to be there. So if you're stoned but you're smart stoned, or if you're loud and eccentric, but as long as you have content and you have like something to say, I don't think people are going to be as appalled by it, or I think more so people are going to be along the ride. It's just like, you just have to have the audience buy into whatever the fuck you're selling, and you have to sell them quick. So if you have too many like contradictory things, or if you just come off like the shouting thing, like, I don't know how much that'll translate right now. I kind of think it'll work because people are at home, they need a quick shake up, you need to catch their attention. But like, that was just like the thing live, you want that on edge energy, you want those nervous laughs, so I think this is going to really kind of shape up how we talk to the audience, whether we're going to consider them being there or not. That's what a lot of comedy was before.
Well, I think one thing it's definitely going to change is the I don't know about for you, but for me, I'm burned out on the politics and also just the doom and gloom, right? Like, I need absurdist, I need bizarre, I need hopeful, I need like detachment from reality. I don't need there finally.
20, you're welcome. I'm sorry, you're the one asking me questions. I'm just kidding.
20 minutes. No, I'm kidding. But I don't want to keep, like, I've been avoiding a lot of content right now that's grounded to reality. I'm watching a lot of out there stuff because I don't want to be reminded of the stuff that we're all reminded of all day.
That's a great point.
So I think the kind of, there's a lane of humor that I noticed was kind of popular before everything got shut down, of like rah our team politics, whatever. And I don't think that's going to fly anymore because everyone's just kind of over it. They're just kind of like, can we just get something non-everyday life because we're burned out? That's
what I'm hoping. I agree with that because I was never a political comic. Yep. I would only do, maybe in longer sets, I'd have one kind of like politically connotated joke in the middle of a set. And then that would be it. And it wouldn't really say like what my true opinions were of anything. But I mean, I do notice that some political comics do well, especially if they're trying to get into late night and whatever. Mm-hmm. But gosh, I think right now, and like you mentioned, I'm hoping things would change just because this experience overall is so humbling. You know, it doesn't affect a specific class. It doesn't. I mean, it kind of affects a specific generation, even though there are having more younger people, whatever demographics. Everybody is being affected. Whether of course, depends on your mindset and how you operate. Whatever. It's humbling,
Yeah.
and those who are trying to bring politics into this are going to be recognized quickly as not a person who cares about the people they're trying to run or whatever,
Yeah.
and I think that if you're trying to bring politics into a time like this, like I don't think it'll be perceived well at all.
No.
So I honestly I hope we stray away from from politics, because if you're going to a comedian for a good political mindset and who to vote for, you're probably not going to make a good decision.
No.
Like,
most of us have been institutionalized at periods of time for good reasons. So if you're looking to us for your political game plan, you're already lost. Hold on one second. You cut out. I'm trying to figure out why your audio's. Keep talking. There we go. Okay. So we're still recording. We're still good.
all right, sweet.
Yeah. So where were we? Comedy, politics. Not looking forward to any politics in the comedy. Yeah. I mean, it's we're all just trying to escape right now because we're all trapped inside all day.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you have anything more on that point?
I mean, something I never did before is I watch news in the morning
Mm-hmm.
now, and still I have no need, like I have no want to really be political about anything. Like I'll comment on maybe people's personal behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like much more into sociology as opposed to like politics and stuff. So it's like right now I think it's like a really really interesting telling time on how we work together as a society and as a community. Yeah, to drive politics into that is just honestly kind of silly, especially with these poor politicians. I don't know if I'd ever really say that before, but it's like I could just feel the stress from them, and especially from the president right now, who's just taking all of this as like a slap against his his campaign right now.
Yeah.
It's like nobody devised this to like make it look bad on your presidency. I think overall, governors and mayors and anybody who has to make decisions on like a smaller level that's still going to vastly affect their community. Those are hard decisions.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and even like with anybody of us doing like small shows and stuff, like we had to humbly and sadly say, we don't want to be on the wrong side of this.
Yes.
I think that's what it is. It's like we don't want to be on the wrong side of this. If we can just keep our composure for 2 fucking weeks.
Yep.
Like 2 more weeks, guys. And then all of this, it won't be over, but we can at least like start to return to normalcy. And for people to not do that and to like think it's a political thing is just so disgusting.
Yeah.
Like just pretend to be humane for now, and then in a couple weeks you can go back to ignoring me to my face. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know why you need to be around people when you didn't fucking talk to me to begin with. Just being real, like, just stay the fuck home. No one wants to see you. You don't want to see me.
Yeah. Well, my thing is...
I'm just kidding.
well, we want to see you, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, like, I miss so much performing in front of real live people, but yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's look, we're trying to be safe, right? We literally have almost a 9/11 a day of people dying.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that no one's quite grasping, which is this is a real thing if it gets out of control. It's not like it's just another cold. We're talking serious casualties. We're talking serious problems. And so me thinking about touring and doing shows, I'm like, well, wait a second. Wait until everything's, back opened up and everything. Because the last thing I want to do as a performer is get my audience sick, right? And cause more people to get sick because I gathered them together for a thing, right?
Yeah, you don't want that publicity either.
Well, not
like,
just.
okay, people don't know who you are, but now you're just like,
I just don't want that on my
subject
conscience.
patient zero, the new plague.
Yeah, but I just don't want that on my conscience. I don't want to be that guy. It's
Oh,
like nobody wants that. I don't think.
Yeah, it's not worth it for 7 people.
Yeah, no, please.
Like, us. You did one of the last shows that we did.
Yeah.
Before the shutdown, you did like the very last show. I was hosting, and it was a great show.
Yeah,
and
it was fantastic.
It was like what? Oh God, I can't recall the exact date, but it was at least a couple days after shutdown, right?
Yep.
And the news was going bonkers. It was like, pretty much just like stay home. And oh no, it was a few days before I don't know. It was the weekend before shutdown.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, and it was so tough. Even people who bought tickets were not wanting to come because they're going crazy. And that's like also a big thing you have to consider is like, okay, this is a pandemic, and you can have more issues with people freaking out about it. But just overall, we need to kind of like, recognize what's going on, just calm and cool our shit. And we still had a great show, even though I was worried about your sniffles.
No, that was probably just my weed cough that day.
Okay. Woo, mine too.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great show.
Yeah, no, I love that show. That was great. And I love closing it out and have a great time on that. It was just, that was, and that's the thing. We want to put on a good show for our audience, and for the people that came out, we really appreciate it. That was huge. It was raining in LA. Usually that kills a show on its own, let alone pandemic. I mean, come on.
That's so true. Even a couple of drops, we're just like reverse worms. We just like bury ourselves back in there. Like, you're absolutely right. It was storming that day. There was the start of the pandemic, and we're like, come to a comedy show. You want to go to Sycamore? Come on out. The dojo. That's like what we have to do. And even before shows, I'd be out there like barking at people, like almost like New York style, like, hey, show's happening here, like, like whether they had like wanted to buy a ticket or not, I'm like, fucking get in here.
Yeah, no,
so,
I love all that. I mean, that's all part of the career. It is barking and doing all that sort of stuff. And I'm just looking forward to getting back to it. That's the thing. But for anybody that's like naysaying us returning to comedy or like there being an industry, the things that always do well during hard times, especially downturns and Great Depressions, are booze, any drugs, so weed.
Thank God they marked it essential.
Yeah. I'll get into that in a second. And then entertainment. Those are the 3 things that always pop during a downturn, right? Because people just want to escape. They want to escape the doom and gloom and all this stuff on the everyday. So that's why I'm happy that when things do start to normalize, I can get out there and start bringing some happiness back to some people.
Yeah, and like this is what's very special, I guess, about this close down is that we're not without funds. I know we were talking about it earlier about, this is one of the first times, and hopefully it's not the last time, I'm going to actually praise our federal government about, providing stimulus, getting on board with, getting, people getting unemployment, other sort of, supplementary income. And so we're going to have that. We're going to have that when we finally open up. We're going to actually have expendable income. It's not like a Great Depression. It's not like, it's not as awful as it could be. This is silver lining. This is a blessing for a pandemic because most of us are healthy.
Yeah.
And, bless those who are dealing with tragedy and are not in the best situation. But we have food. Grocery stores are crazy, but whatever. We have food. We have shelter. We have fucking electricity and internet. Yeah. This is the best pandemic I could have ever hoped to be a part of.
Yeah.
If this is the worst it's going to get when I'm sitting here talking to a homie, smoking a blunt, drinking coffee and whiskey, and this is the fucking worst of it.
Yeah. Yes, there is a potential for this thing to get worse, supply shortages, blah, 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 blah. But looking on the bright side, this could have been worse. We're all seeming to follow the rules as much as we can, except in some parts of California.
Yeah, you saw me bitching about Huntington.
Yeah, and I'm not too far from there right now, but
Yeah, undisclosed location.
yeah. Well, I'm still somewhere, miles
Yeah,
from there. But anyway, but no, but the thing is, like, at the same time, you and I, we have to realize that we're lucky and we're fortunate because a lot of people, they're looking at, even with the government money, it's not enough. They've got mortgages, they've got rents, they've got kids to feed and all that sort of stuff.
yeah. People who have children, God bless you.
Yeah. So
there should be an extra bonus to parents, like straight up, hurrah! Like,
oh yeah, no. Anybody who has dependents should definitely get extra money, and but
yeah, to be the teacher and everything right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, but and teachers should get extra pay right now. I mean, teacher hazard pay, and because they're dealing with all the kids. The kids are just bringing this stuff.
Wait, they're at home, I think, though. I think they're doing
yeah, but they're talking about opening back up the schools, right? They're trying to, because if you send the parents back to work, the kids got to go somewhere. And right now, I think summer camps have been canceled. All the like activity stuff that kids would normally be in has been disrupted.
It's not feasible, right?
Yeah.
Like consider class size per teacher before.
Yeah.
Easily 30 plus students.
Oh yeah.
And now you have them 6 feet apart.
Uh-huh.
And how many people can you keep in one class?
Yeah.
How many classes can you have at a time? You're going to be expecting students to come here all day long, expecting a teacher to work all day long to talk to 6 fucking students per hour to teach them like one subject.
Yeah.
You can't expect them to go through the halls and rotate classes anymore because that's coming in contact that's violating social distancing.
Yeah.
So all of it has to be online. Even some colleges suspended in-class discussions till January.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, that may be where we have to go, because if it's the safest thing, but you're absolutely right. That's for colleges, that's easier to handle because they're adults. But for children, and people who need to be monitored, people who need even just assistance logging into something.
Yeah.
You can't leave a six-year-old home alone. Whether
exactly.
I'm sure they're much capable of working a computer.
Yeah. But
yeah.
It's that you can't leave kids unattended, and any sort of daycare or congregating type thing has to be approved. And then it's just it's very hard choices. We're all fit, and I'm not the person to answer these questions. Why am I even musing about it?
To have a discussion from we don't have kids.
Well, yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah,
have kids,
so I mean, but I mean, obviously we have a lot of friends who do, and I have nephews, and you can't make a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old wear a face mask all day. You can't, like, there's just like so many different things that have to be considered. And I know, like with my brother and their children, they're blessed enough that his wife can stay home with them, if he has to return to work. But a lot of people aren't like that. If you're a single parent, or God bless you, have a special needs child, you're doing the work of like 6 people.
Oh yeah.
And just to maintain some sort of normalcy. And I can only imagine, like, I used to be like a co-actor for the Miracle Project. So I was working with people on the spectrum who had other, sort of disabilities, just kind of getting out there, trying to express themselves and, perform and do art. And normalcy and keeping a routine is so important, and I can only imagine just trying to have that discussion, let alone instituting it. So my love and praise goes out to like any parent, especially anybody in that situation. Like, I know you guys are going through a lot. So
oh yeah,
this is weird. This is fucking weird. I mean, we're definitely some of the blessed ones, and thankfully the government, thankfully it sounds weird, all of us are being affected, because if there's only one certain class that's hardcore suffering, it may not get the support.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, by no means are we advocating the response or approving of whatever. We're just saying that at least something's being done.
Yes, exactly.
The thing is, trying to avoid politics, but talking about current events is very difficult. But you can do it where you're saying, like, all I'm saying is we're just glad something's happening. We look to be moving towards normalcy, hopefully. But if things don't, we'll figure it out. We always figure it out,
Yeah.
I mean, the unemployment numbers scare me because I'm unemployed. And we were talking earlier about what that means for us, but at some point, we'll find work again, hopefully. But the system is strained because you've got 30 million people unemployed now, I think, or something like that, which is 25% of the workforce, which is Great Depression levels.
Yeah.
So, and it's only going to keep getting worse for a bit. And yeah, so a lot of things. There's got to be a lot of turmoil and a lot of upheaval and a lot of just craziness going on for a while, and you just gotta kind of go with it, I guess.
But I mean, the thing with going with it and like understanding being adaptable is completely different than ignoring that we just went through this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's some people in some states that are already opening up.
Yeah.
Today's Monday.
Yep.
This is their first day of having some restaurants open. Barbershops are already speaking open. Major gyms, major big places where people are expected to interact as a service and where people are expected to use the same machinery because of the service. And how do you go about this delicately? Because if we don't, it's already been pretty much established that this is a cyclical flu, virus. So in the fall, we're expected to see it back. And if we don't take the proper measures now, we only have a few months until then. And if we're just out there fucking like acting as if it's like spring break just started again, it's going to be way worse. Like, it's going to be way worse. Like, I honestly would advise those states who, like, I've already seen pictures and videos of them freely walking through malls, families, no masks, like, family units are fine, but it's like you see them around each other. And the malls only have, like, right now, a handful of stores open. We have groups of people flooding there when only a handful of stores open out of hundreds of spaces. Are you going there for a specific reason? Do you really need your fucking Skechers right now? Like, what? Like, what is the deal? Like, I don't want to promote anybody getting sick, but I still think that this is a commerce-driven country. Like we need to be buying and selling. And we realize and recognize that, but as a consumer, we need to recognize our part, and if we don't properly exist, it's not going to run. So
right, and it's very difficult because mom and pop shops that were already teetering are going over, and one of the things that I've been thinking about has been even though I don't understand the ins and the outs of the industry, is real estate, and how if this becomes a quasi-normal where we go, oh, wait a second, we don't need everybody to be in an office, right? Well, office real estate now becomes undesirable, and all this property loses value, and then in the entire, office real estate industry collapses. And there's a lot of money tied up in that. Like, you thought the housing collapse was bad. And think about, $100 million.
Whole business sector.
It's just like every building's $100 million to $1 billion, and it's like, oh, okay, now they're worthless. Great. There's a lot of stuff that we're seeing where it's fundamental cracks in the system if the system decides to change. All right. Where it's
very true.
It's like this only works if we continue this exact way for infinity.
Forever.
Right. And we've realized, well, we don't like that way because we want to develop green energy and do some other cool stuff and, quantum computing, blah, 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 whatever. And we're saying, okay, well, what does that mean? And now it's like, well, we haven't figured that out yet. We haven't answered those questions in terms of what's the best way to go forward if we're trying to go forward. We're too busy trying to put out the fires of today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's asking for a complete restructure in some means, which is redoing people's habits, which is extremely hard. If you're trained to do something, you're like, this is how I brought up, this is traditional, this is, and we're already, I just turned 30, and like everyone already kind of has that mindset of like how you think things are supposed to work and how things are supposed to work. And so if people tell it like you, like, oh, well, it also works this way and it might be better, you're like, yeah, but it's working this way, so why should I look into it?
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, I've been fortunate in that I've always been in kind of quasi fast paced industries, right? So I was in marketing and advertising, and it was always changing. So you were always reading, always learning, always adapting, always doing new things. So
Yeah,
you never got complacent in like, well, I do it this way, right? It was always
yeah.
there was always a new way of doing stuff that was always optimized better, faster, easier. Um,
That's good that you knew that. Like
yeah,
you, yeah,
and also because of the ways that I came through business and doing my own business and stuff like that, I learned a lot of things like coding and taking care of
so
websites and merchandising and graphics and all that stuff. And so when it came time to become a comedian and launch my own brand, I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. That's easy. I build a website, I do this, I do that, I do social media, and so now I have a great presence. But
yeah,
a lot of people ask me like, how'd you do that? And I was like, oh, you don't know? And I was like, oh wait, no, I have a totally different background, which just default gives me a lot of that stuff.
yeah.
Because I had to learn it. But if I had to just do it on my own, yeah, it would be like reading Greek to me. It would be like, how do I even start? There's too much.
Yeah, and more so you'd be like, I could just pay someone to do this.
Right. And that's what sometimes happens is where people say, well, can I just pay you to do it? And I say, happily.
Yeah,
If you've got money, I'm happy to help, because that's the thing. It's not like we're competing. Every comedian has their own way of doing stuff. So, that's, you're not competing against me for the same show necessarily.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely limited time. There's
Right.
whatever. You're right. We have different styles. I mean, it is good that we can be marketed differently, and that's definitely important. And just talking, kind of touching back on like adaptability, it is kind of knowing like what you can provide, and also like how you can mold yourself into a role. And even like we're human beings, which is such a beautiful thing. Our minds are brilliant, every single one of ours, and whether we choose to tap into it or not. Even Einstein had said, adaptability is the marker of genius. So if we take our time to learn something new, or even if we're just like jump in and hands on, and that's what makes things so difficult, and we're trying to institute a whole new way of doing things, you kind of have to just do it. And you have to get so many people on board to try and test it out properly and to make it work for how we need things to go. And that's it's a lot of people are convinced, a lot of people to get on board. But yeah, hopefully we can just figure out what works for us, and as a community we be there for each other.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I see a lot of us coming together, especially on social media, to just try new things, try and make things work while we're all kind of isolated and doing our own stuff. I feel bad for anyone who doesn't have a creative outlet in this time because creativity is the one key to defeating boredom, uh, and monotony.
yeah. It's funny because I've been obsessed with Survivor. I've been watching it too much lately. And like I guess like in the older seasons especially, they had like a luxury item, and like one woman had to choose to bring like acrylic paints. It was just such an interesting thing when you think about Survivor and
Right.
survival as a whole. What is important for you to grow? Yeah, you have your physical demands,
Yeah.
you have your emotional demands, and you have your spiritual demands. You have to work your brain a little bit, or else, unless, I mean, if you're so focused on it, and it kind of goes in that order, I think. If you're so focused on survival, like on the basic needs, you're never going to be able to progress to think about how do I feel emotionally. You're
Yeah.
never going to be able to progress to think about how do I feel spiritually. And that's what I think really distance ourselves from like um, like some other countries who aren't as developed, because they're so hardworking on just trying to get those first needs met that they can't even consider what it means is like, what I mean? That's all. I mean, that's my ignorant mindset. I don't know. I know a lot of them are very spiritual.
Yeah.
But just to like progress into like, like how you're able to do all these different designs and stuff, like that would never be like, they're like, why would I need that?
Yeah.
But
No, I think back to one of the things that we've I don't know to go back to not politics, but kind of the rift that happens just naturally between people is, there's been that argument. I've heard it on the news accurate kind of a couple of times where it's one state saying we're not another state, right? And it's where like one state's doing it one way and people are saying, why don't you do it that way? And then the other state taking offense and saying, well, we're not them, we're us and we do it our way because, and it's like,
what a separation.
But people forget that coastal cities and states kind of do look down on other parts of the country and have this kind of attitude of we know better, without considering the local environment. There may be reasons why they may want to do it a different way that we're not considering.
Because we're not experiencing that.
Yeah, because we didn't grow up there, we didn't live there, we don't understand the local, government, how it's set up and what they're doing and what their goals are for its citizens, right? We're just imparting our will upon them. That's why there is the thing of states' rights, right? Which is why states have individual rights separate from the federal government and from each other, so that we can't just, willy-nilly impose our will over each other. So that's a little bit of civics for you.
It's so interesting that like we have all those like things in place, and again, not politics. Minor touch is like how our president is just taking all this so personally, and he even still considers his word to be the last standing word.
Right.
Which is absurd, but
well, I mean,
because we have these measures in place, is why it's absurd. But
yeah, look, I don't want to talk about that whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Whether what he's saying or not is absurd, I'm saying just him thinking that his last word stands is absurd.
Yeah, but the only thing I'll say about it is I do not envy his job, right? You put me in that chair, God knows what happens. So
that's why I was like even just saying praise to like our smaller, like our governors and our mayors and everybody, like those decisions they have to make, like those are tough. Like those are tough decisions.
Yeah.
People are gonna take it personal. You're like, oh no, I can't have you open up. You're like, you're gonna take my job? It's like, no, like I'm not taking anything from you. In fact, I'm like kind of like trying to like give us all like a little leeway of how to get ahead of this thing.
Well, it's the me versus we mentality, right? It's the how does this affect me versus how does it affect everybody, right? Maybe it minorly inconveniences me, but it saves a lot of people a lot of heartache. And so that's where we got to kind of get to. We lost that kind of thinking, I think, post World War II. Because a lot of people came back from World War II and now I'm just speculating let's do it. All right, speculating one at a time. All right, so World War II happens, right? And a lot of people were in the military, and it was about brotherhood and being together and looking out for your fellow man and all those sorts of things. And then we hit Korea. It's similar kind of circumstances, but now we're getting jaded by the government and what their choices were. Then you hit Vietnam, and then you're really like, what is this all about? And then ever since, the populace has gotten away from like looking out for each other and we're all in this together. And especially with the 1980s, craziness of, every greed is good and let's get as much as we can. So it became about individual achievement and individual obtaining stuff. And it stopped being about communal growth and communal well-being. And you still find it in like, churches and religious organizations and communal type organizations, but you see their numbers dwindling.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? And it's really kind of sad to say, but I feel like that's what America was promoting all along. That's the American dream, is not like you come here, you as an individual can come here, you can establish whatever you want, and if you work hard enough, you'll have your shit. So it's like such an I mentality as opposed to like, hey, we're all like a village or a town or a community. Here's our garden, like we all, stone soup, whatever. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how I feel, is that that's kind of how we were raised.
Yeah.
I feel that's very much American dream mentality, is very much an I And it is really unfortunate, though, that I think that all kind of started when we were very much like a trade focused, you know, country. You know, like that's just how things were. You know, you did what your father did. You know,
Yeah.
but then that's how we kind of started because that's all we knew
Yeah.
and how we built things up. And then now it's like, okay, well, I'm no longer like I was told I can branch out and do whatever I want. I can be who I want to be, which is great, and you do have the opportunity. But now you lose the trade. So now your children are set up in the same position, and that's why we have all of this like huge, you know,
Oh, you froze.
you have to save to do that, and instead we
Hold on.
still.
You froze for a second. Go back like 3 seconds.
Oh yeah. So so we end up losing our trade. So it's like because of that, and it is such a great thing that we can follow and pursue whatever we want. We don't have a demand for that because our society was still built on like such like a, you know, we still need people to pursue trade. So it's like I even know like there was like the, you know, a lot of other, so we have like this huge focus on college, like going to college education, which I think is like a whole huge debt scam. And we don't realize that we actually need people to have skills that are like usable right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's just such a weird thing, but I think we created that for ourselves. And it's a beautiful thing to highlight that we can do whatever we want, you know, and like pursue whatever we want. So then you end up with some like, not that I'd ever hate on us being artists or anything, but we end up with like, we should also have like some sort of trade that we can
Well, yeah.
do with people, yeah.
Well, it's
Which we do, but
well,
I have no college debt, so I'm like,
yeah.
thank God.
Yep. Thank you, parents.
But then again, I don't have a piece of paper, so who knows? We'll see. We'll see how this turns out, eh?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have that piece of paper, but that's the thing. Like those of us that are serious about comedy, we always have a side hustle to keep us kind of fed if, you know, times are lean like this. And so, yeah, it's. I forget what we were talking about. Shit.
Being able to choose your own way versus.
Oh yeah,
like,
that was it. We got part of the reason we got away from the trades was we started to like demean them in, you know.
Right.
It
was blue collar versus white collar.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think, when that came to be, that term.
And I think it was a consequence of the 80s and the like just money for money's sake and like chasing money. So if you weren't making, you know, ridiculous sums of money or in that hustle, you weren't respected.
Yeah.
And versus, you know, being a plumber is a good occupation. Like you can make good money
too, like straight up.
Yeah, I would take that. Even in now, people still need plumbers, right?
Yeah.
Pipes
always.
Still break, right? And so that's the thing where we dissuaded generations away from, you know, the trades, partly because we couldn't monetize it the way we could colleges.
Word. Exactly.
But partly because that wasn't what we were trying to get our workforce to be. We were trying to make a workforce that was more educated and more, you know, high-end tech job friendly, I think.
Yeah.
So we got away from trade, and now we have a major demand for it. And so yeah, it's a viable career if you want to do something. It's, you know, and that's the thing. You what is it? A lot of us were told you can do whatever you want, all right? And it's like, yeah, if it feeds you and it pays the bills, you can do whatever you want. But if it doesn't, you can do that, but you got to figure something else out to pay and feed yourself. So, you know, it may be that, you know, maybe your dream wasn't doing XYZ, but you can tolerate it and you have an aptitude for it. So may as well do it while you try and make the other thing happen.
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly think, how old are you, Arden?
I'm 36.
30, yeah. So I feel like we're like on the cusp of people who have that mentality of like, okay, pursue your dream, but also have like a backup plan maybe, which I don't necessarily, unfortunately. But I know I have friends, close friends, or just even a couple years younger than me, who are so reliant. And this is what's beautiful about our country and our government and everything. What's also whatever. We just have so many like escape nets or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like all like we have so many things in play that if you're struggling,
Yep.
which is good if we consider that, and they're like, okay, you fell on hard times, we're gonna help feed you. Here's some food stamps, can't be like paying at restaurants, pull your shit.
Yep.
And then also like, here's some unemployment if you need it, you lost your job, whatever, hard times. But I don't think there's like as many restrictions on some of these things because I have close friends who I do care about and I've helped out personally abuse these systems because you know what I mean, and they don't have a backup plan, and they're not even full-heartedly pursuing their art.
Yeah.
So and I kind of feel like, I mean, the worst part of me feels that strain sometimes. Like that's just like the fire under my belly. I don't want to be like that,
Yeah.
I don't think I don't have like any of those, government supply things. Thank God for stimulus and shit. Like I said that before, because I've been out of all my jobs since March 16th.
Yeah.
But I think if you abuse those systems, and we do have lovely systems in place, that's what's kind of like giving like our young, that's what's like such like the negative connotation on the younger generation too. It's like they don't feel the need to work as hard because like, oh, I can do whatever I want and my backup plan is the government taking care of my ass.
Right. No, it's that entitlement type mentality.
Yeah.
But my thing is like the abusers are usually the outliers is how I look at it. It is, because I know plenty of people like myself that hit hard times from time to time, rely on those sorts of things, but then use it to get themselves back out and back onto
the proper way.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. You can't enforce diligence and hard work and work ethic and those sorts of things in people that just don't have it, right? And there are going to be those people, and that's the sad part where you see a person who has, some sort of ability like with their art and isn't pursuing it the way they could when they're given those sorts of help benefit, where if you see it meets their bare minimums, right, and they're not hurting. And they're going, no, I'm fine, right? I just don't feel like, yeah. It's like, well, that's on you. You're not going to succeed if you keep at it like this. The people who succeed are the people that even without their job, they wake up at 6 a.m., they look for a job, and then they do this and that, and they hustle, and they call people, and they do all the stuff that they can to try and find themselves the next thing, right? So that's what I do every morning. I wake up, I start doing my stuff, start putting stuff out to people. And, it takes some time, but it pays off, right? But, and
your husband, I see it.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I put together this nice podcast so that I can have an excuse to see my friends and get high. And, it's been good. And I'm trying to get back to talking with some people from the cannabis industry on this and talk about what they're going through and what they're seeing. Because they're seeing a boom time right now because weed is essential and everybody is getting it. I get mine delivered to my door, which is nice. And
oh, nice. My shop's across the street, so I hope they make us wear masks. They have little extras, Yeah.
Well, it's good you can get your stuff and that it's still accessible in California, so that's good.
I made sure to get happy hour right before here. It starts at 4:20. So.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But it reminded me of what you had said before is how, again, back to like the mentality of like how whether you have a job or not, like you're still keeping that schedule to yourself. You're still, making sure you're getting up, you're still keeping those good habits. And I've heard, I wish I had better numbers right now, but people who have been like millionaires, if they lose their whole fortune, the amount of time to get back their fortune, it's so quick because they already have that mentality. They don't want to live like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, I'm a millionaire. That's the mentality they have. I'm a millionaire. What kind of decisions does a millionaire make? What do they invest in? What do they work at?
Right.
So if you have the mentality of like not necessarily who I am, but who I want to be, or like, if you just like tell yourself like, I'm a fucking comedian right now who doesn't have an audience, like what do I do?
Yeah.
So, or just like what can you do for work?
Well, part of how the millionaire gets back to being a millionaire so quick is also not just about what they know, it's about what assets they can tap into because they once were a millionaire, right? So
Yeah, that's a good
um,
point.
they have the ability to still leverage some amount of credit and debt, even if they've been wiped out. And they
Yeah,
have a network of friends who are willing to lend them money because they know how to, they'll get a return on their investment back in their friend. All right.
yeah,
So part of it is who you know, who you associate with.
it's a huge part of it.
And I brought this up on Landon's podcast the last time we smoked. And it was that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, right? And that
And
goes,
don't be the smartest one in the room.
yeah. If you're the smartest person in the room, find another room.
Yeah,
Because you shouldn't be the smartest person. You should always be learning from the people around you, right? Get a mentor, get a person, especially in comedy. Find someone who's more seasoned than you are, and become their best buddy, and learn everything you can from them because they're gonna open a lot of doors for you that otherwise wouldn't. Uh,
Ashley Casanova looking for a mentor.
yeah, yeah. Arden looking for somebody. Yeah. It's but that's the thing. It's where if you're not using this downtime to network and reach out and just be like, hey, just want to make sure you're okay and loved your work on whatever, just to kind of further your own connections and connect with people, or have a friend introduce you to somebody that you've been meaning to connect to through that person. Um,
Yeah,
you're wasting a perfect opportunity because of course they're going to want to talk to you. I want to talk to anybody right now, you know?
yeah. I think what it is too, I've noticed in LA specifically, is like if you start like pushing, you start like making some tread, like people notice, like they gravitate towards you. Like as soon as you start doing just a little bit, you get so many opportunities. And
Yeah.
I think that if you're anybody who's wanting to act upon those, like make sure you're going to work hard to their expectations and to your own, and like just be consistent, like be pushing at it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm personally trying to do. Consistency is like one of the hardest things for me. I'm fairly unorganized. I'm not very timely, and that's probably about. Those are my biggest flaws. But hey, quarantine, fixing it. Call me. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, 70% of everything is just showing up. So and it,
I'll always show up. It'll be like just like a few minutes late. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
yeah, no, that was the thing. I noticed coming up in San Francisco, that's where I started in comedy. A lot of comics will flake on shows. Like they'd be booked for something and then just like flake on it for a different show somewhere else.
Wow.
But that was like it was like nobody cared, and you could do that and get away with it. Um,
Okay, but let me ask though, if like San Francisco's probably set up more like New York for it then, like there's a lot more frequent shows and a lot closer together. Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, you can get
Yeah.
a ton of stage time. So that's what happens is people would overbook themselves, and then they would just pick whichever show they felt had the best,
Was most profitable.
yeah, most visibility, really.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was often it was like you'd be on a show and it was like I thought so and so was on this show, and it's like nah, I think they bounced over for the other show. I'm like okay, whatever.
At
Uh,
least what we do out here is we're like, hey, I have another show. Can I go on sooner? Can I go on later? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like we at least communicate and like don't be a dick about it.
yeah.
Like we have like
Oh, I'm not
I mean I
saying
know like it's pretty rare like we're gonna be getting paid for shows in LA because it's fucking LA.
yeah,
And we make money on the road. We're talking about going on the road earlier.
yeah,
But yeah, you can't just like why would like I don't know. I can't imagine setting up a reputation to be like that. Like
yeah.
shows out here though, on average, start like 20 minutes late.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
normal.
so and it's expected. So it's like honestly, you're like you arrive on time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's so bizarre.
No, I know.
But yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I'm not saying it's a good behavior or that you should do it. I'm just saying it was a behavior that
Yeah.
I noticed coming up where it was like, really? Come on. I don't know how it is now. Maybe it's gotten
I
better.
would never say that. If I was booking you and you
Yeah.
flaked, I would not book you again, most likely. Unless you're like a really good comic and
Yeah.
you're my friend or something, you're like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, you know what I mean? And instead you're like, if you don't say anything or if you don't like, or if you're just like late and like, I'm like, hey, where are you? You're like, oh, sorry, I have another show. I'm like, noted.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not
No.
not going to probably book you. There's so many comics
Oh
out
my
here
God.
that like
That's that's part of why I'm so happy I came up in SF is because there's also a ton of comics in SF. But SF is kind of like LA. It's kind of spread out where you've got the Bay, where it's like, but then you've got inland more where you can go in like past Oakland and there's more shows and stuff out there.
and I'm sure you notice the difference too,
Yeah,
playing on the east side as opposed to west.
yeah.
Even in the Bay Area, like and like yeah, especially if you mention Oakland, like for sure you're gonna have different crowds.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah. And so but the thing is, I started out there where I got so much stage time, so many hours under
oh,
my belt. It free.
especially in like more east or probably all over. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but all free, right? Where it wasn't like I was paying for mics or any of that stuff because
Yeah,
nobody does. And so uh, I got a lot of experience, but then I got down to LA and it was like you're dealing with not just the LA crowd that lives here, but also like all the people coming in for one weekend or whatever because they're just in from SF or wherever. They took the bus in, they're taking their shot for the week. Uh,
yeah,
so you've got to stand out amongst kind of all of that, and really just showing up consistently is the best way to having good material and being a good performer, but showing up consistently is the best way to
yeah.
do that in LA.
Well, I think so having good material is just like such an interesting and also like subjective thing. And what's really cool part of comedy is like I mean I started off doing like like theater acting and improv and other like types of acting cool shit. And anyways, I see like you have like your script per
Hmm.
se, and how you manipulate that, how like your tonal change, your pauses, your expressions, are you moving with purpose, like all very specific, stage directions that you can create for yourself apply both to acting as well as stand-up comedy because it's still very much performance. And I think with comedy overall, like stand-up comedy is the hardest form of entertainment I've ever personally tried to pursue. And to make all of those gestures seem right, like off the cuff, and like the first time you said it and very conversational is like one of the hardest things to do. And
Yeah,
you're lucky enough to be able to write your own shit, and a big part of it, like you said, good material, you have to be a decent writer.
yeah,
But just being able to lay it out is such a big part of it. And you have no one else to blame. Like you can't blame your co-star, you can't blame your editor, you can't blame your writer, your director, you can't blame the fucking audience, which a lot of people like to do. But
yeah. No, it's
yeah,
all on you. You carry it. And that's kind of why I love it so much because I'm an egomaniac and I love it being all about me, right? It's my, 5, 10, 15, 20 hour to shine, right? It's
yeah,
and for that time I've got the microphone, you have to listen, and
yeah.
I get to just do my thing and hopefully you walk away enjoying it. That's my end goal. But it's a very solitary thing where you're engaging with the audience, but you're reflecting on your own performance the whole time.
Yeah, and that's I think it's so important to record yourself. Whether
Hmm.
if you can only get audio
Yeah.
because as a good performer, you should be present and you should be paying attention and vibing with the audience. While of course we're in our head like wondering how we should do this next joke because of how they're responding right now. So many things, so many fucking things. But shit, I almost lost where I was going. Remind me one time.
Yeah. We were doing stand-up comedy. It's very solitary in that you're up in your head. You're engaging with the audience, but you're always like in your head about how am I doing this. Um, and it's very uh,
Oh,
yeah,
I know where I was
there you go.
going. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
How you're saying you're an egomaniac. I know a lot of us kind of have to be. I love the energy of being in front of people, but I'm such a weird lover of like awkward moments and like weird, like you know what I mean. I love the silence. I love weird things like that. Not that I ever want silence after my jokes, But I mean, like, just like the build up and stuff like that. I love feeling the energy. But either way, the honesty
Yep.
of the performance, like not only of what you give, but what the audience gives back to you, is just such a precious thing, because it's solicited and it's so real, and you can't get that from anywhere else, really. You know what I mean? I mean, unless you're doing like live theater, possibly. Right. But even then, you're focused on the other subjects, but you're not breaking the fourth wall like that.
Yeah.
And so with comedy, you're getting an instant reaction.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, how do you respond to that? And like, what's so great is like, yeah, you're taking these cues and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't fucking like that. What does that say? How did I say it? Is it just this audience? Like, should I switch subjects? Should I go to something? You know what I mean? Just so like,
yeah.
You have to be like, to be a good comedian, I think you have to be fairly good at puzzles.
Oh yeah. Well, you also have to understand, how to be present in the moment. Because some of the best tags I find are in the moment, just off the cuff crap that is just it's still me writing it, right?
Absolutely.
But it's not me having to sit down and say, how do I craft this tag? It just happens, and you're like, oh shit, that was brilliant, of course, right? And thankfully,
and then hope you remember it or make sure you record.
That's why I record, because I can go back to that. Because one of my best it's so stupid, but I deliver it so deadpan and with such sincerity. No, I wouldn't say deadpan, but such sincerity in my own twist, where I was doing a show and this woman in the front of the audience, I was telling this part about how it was institutionalized, and this look of just horror came over her face, of just like, what I was telling her was horrific. And I said,
yeah.
And in that moment, I just stopped and I looked at her and I said, don't worry, it gets worse. yeah, and everybody lost it, and I put that on a t-shirt. I was like, yeah, no, don't worry, it gets worse. That's my tag for that whole joke now. And I was just like, oh my god, because
that's what ties it together. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it becomes a catchphrase and everything else, because all my stories are like that, where it gets to this point, you're like, don't worry, it gets worse. It keeps going. Like, we thought we've reached the low point.
That's a great phrase, dude. Like, congrats on you. I'm going to buy one of those shirts now.
Yeah. They're on my website, ardencomedy.com/shop. And yeah, but being in the moment, being able to like read the audience member and have a funny response to it that everybody could key into and just, roll with. And yeah, it's just, but you've got to be present in that moment. If you're so locked up in your head and, uptight, you're not going to see that, and you're not going to respond to it, and it's not going to be funny.
Yeah Absolutely. I've seen people who over rehearse their set.
Oh yeah,
have that same kind of, which is hard to not do as a new comic sometimes, but well, I don't know, just know your material.
Well, I mean, part of it is also, it's repetition learning, right? And until you get comfortable with your own voice and how you naturally form a joke, right? Because everybody's got to find their voice. It takes time, right?
Yeah.
I'm 5 years in, and I'm still, I've got a good sense of who I am and what I'm doing, but I still got to noodle with some stuff. But
yeah, I think a natural can only be defined as someone who knows their voice.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so I've still got to, there are times when I can be on stage and just naturally just go with the topic and roll with it and be funny. That's fine. But I don't count on that, because it's I'm still working the material because I have a goal for it. I want to turn it into something. You should always have a goal for your material. What is it going to be? How are
you going to use the set?
Yeah. Because if you're just doing the set to do the set, I don't know if you're getting too much out of it. But yeah, it's you're always working it, and it's always but when I'm 5 years in, so I'm comfortable. Like, I don't write a set list. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I know when I'm or if I'm miking something, right, it's a brand new joke, I don't have to have it written, because I have enough of an inkling of it where I know the bits of it, where I can just kind of tie it together on my feet.
And plus, after you say it, it's probably not going to be how you had wrote it.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And so but that just takes time to get comfortable into that point where you're not so much focused on the material. So now I can really think about, am I standing flat-footed, right? Am I not moving? Am I not, using my face? Am I not, what are the parts of my body that I'm not using right now aside from my voice?
Yeah.
Because it becomes not about the words, it becomes about the performance, right? And yeah, there are those comics that can be hilarious just standing still because the material's just that good and their delivery's just that good. But that's very few people. You've got to have, and you should be well-rounded as a comic. You should try everything and see what fits your style and what doesn't. You never know what thing might be, you thought wasn't you, but wow, that fits in your wheelhouse really well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think you have to kind of play around with so many different things, and a lot of it, you're right, does come with experience. It comes with repetition. It comes with using your material at various mics. If that's what you have to use for an outlet. And I wouldn't recommend going in. I've done it a few times, like trying new jokes in like live shows, but it's about, of course, how you layer them. I mean, it depends on who you are. I like to all of my openings are improvised. They're all like I don't have like a specific opener. I'll just go in based off the last comic. I'll usually do like a tag or something. About 90% of the time it works.
Nice.
Thank God. But yeah. So, but again, that has to be with being present or whatever.
Yeah.
And
hold that thought for 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, I've got to pull a shade because I didn't realize the sun crept up on me. Where should we go next? Because I think we've tread enough water on the previous topics, whatever they were. So let's do. I'm going to coin a phrase now, and I'll probably not remember to continue it from here on out. And it'll be the last bowl wrap up, where we'll pick a topic to do, like one more good topic to go out on.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything that is pressing with me that I wanted to do. Not really. Well, so let's talk about writer's block. Right? You're a writer. I'm a writer. We fancy ourselves writers of words of stuff. And you've got a whole show about it where you propose a topic and you just write about whatever on the fly.
Well, it's the audience that actually provides the topic, which is really great. Yeah, I think it's important to engage the audience. And as us comics, I think we're always questioning whether what we're talking about is of interest or relatable. So to have the audience actually provide what they want to hear about, I think is such a fun way to involve them, and also for us all to kind of be on like a level playing ground. It creates that like better sense of like an audience mentality where it's a lot more supportive because they kind of are rooting for you in that sense. They're like, ooh, what are you going to come up with? As opposed to like she's talking about that. You know what I mean? Or, So I think it's like a really fun way to kind of engage and involve, and it creates a really unique, supportive atmosphere. And it's so fun. I mean, you've done the show, you know, so it's like, it's, how do you feel about it, writing on the spot?
I love it. I mean, you find every comic approaches it differently. Like some find it as like, how can I use this to segue into my material? Or how can I fold this into my material sometimes? Which
you can tell, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, at least the comics can tell. I don't know if normal audience members can always tell, but we can.
Point. Sometimes they can, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead.
But being able to just kind of think on your feet and take a topic and just riff on it, and it comes back to like knowing your voice, right? And because we inherently do this as comics when we stand around in a smoking circle, right? And we're bullshitting outside of a show that's about to start, and we're all just getting loose, and we start joking about whatever, where we'll start talking about some nonsense, and we're all making jokes about it. And it's that exact same thing. It's getting into that flow of this and then that and then that. It's kind of the improv this and,
Oh yeah, yes and yeah.
yes and everything, right? Where you're yes anding yourself. As long as the audience is giving you good feedback, you keep going with it and keep leaning into it until it dies.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about how different comics will interpret something. You know, you can take one word and you can either like just see where they're going to go with it, and also the fun journey of where you're going to go with it. You
Yeah.
know, which is like what you said, just yes and yourself, which is such a great way to put it because it's like digging your own little rabbit hole. You know, and the material you come up with and the different concepts you've never really toyed with. And the beauty of it is that most of it's pretty commercial in a sense that, oh, I can use this set again, or
Oh yeah.
I can actually like work these jokes around, and a fun way, a fun and interesting thing about how using those jokes again, it's like the beauty of that is like your segue is already them providing the topic,
Yep.
so we already know that we're jumping into it. But when you're doing a normal set, the focus on segues is just so interesting to me. It's like you definitely want your set to flow,
Yeah.
but I kind of have so much fun just like chopping to a different subject. I think you get more laughs that way sometimes. But
Yeah. Well, it's the unexpectedness. It's the turn, right? It's
yeah,
it's the we've been talking about, online dating, and then suddenly now we're talking about, how the deli fucked up my sandwich, and it's like, well, wait, how did we get over here?
yeah,
And you're so passionate about it. Like, what? Why are you so worked up all of a sudden? Uh, it's taking that audience on that journey, because if you're not taking them through some sort of crazy trip, right? Where
yeah,
they're not going to stay with you. Um,
yeah. And you use the word passion, which I think is like interesting, especially when you're writing on the fly. You have to consider how does this make you feel? You know, what's my attitude or stance towards this topic?
yeah,
You know, and if you're not really energized, if you don't care about it, why is anybody going to care about listening to you talking about it?
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's a really good point in bringing that up. It's like, yeah, you have to have fuel in your fire for like what you're actually talking about. Know what you're talking about too.
oh yeah, yeah. I joke about how anything can sound like Shakespeare if you know how to spin it. All right. But it starts with actual Shakespeare, and then it just devolves into, either rap lyrics or something that you wouldn't expect. And that's the joke, and that's funny.
Yeah,
But it comes from the fact that I know a lot of Shakespeare because I studied that back in college and stuff. So it's like, okay, I have this wealth of knowledge about a subject that people have a cursory knowledge of because we were all
yeah,
forced to read it at one point. So I
yeah,
could say anything with authority, and it sounds like Shakespeare to you. But that's the joke, because
yeah.
I could say anything. I could just start saying song lyrics, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's Shakespeare," and it's like, no, ah, shit, your sound went out again. Your sound went out again. You keep hitting something on your phone. I think, is it your cord? Hmm. Let me try disconnecting and reconnecting. Hold on. It's all right. You, you. There you
What
go.
up?
I don't know what it is, but something goes where your sound goes out. It goes pop, and then you go out. So,
Weird.
eh,
Maybe I don't think I have it on too high.
no, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Um. But yeah. But yeah. So I'll do like but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? 'Tis the east, and Juliet, the sun, oh arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. Now, Juliet, won't you back that ass up? It's just like anything could sound like Shakespeare if you say it right. Uh,
Yeah,
but you've got to have that knowledge behind it, where it's like, okay, this guy clearly knows this, and he's clearly playing with us with this, because
yeah.
we all read Shakespeare, and it's like, yeah, but this guy had to read Shakespeare, and now he's fucking with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's such like a relatable moment too. Yeah, that's a great, well-rounded joke.
Yeah, yeah. I try, you know. Uh, but it's I do hit those points where I have difficulty writing. I won't say I can't write. I just have difficulty actually getting stuff down and like figuring out what's funny. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's when I get too existential, and I started asking, "What am I funny? Is this funny? Why is this funny?"
Yeah.
And you kind of lose it for a second. And you're just like, "Why? I don't know."
Do you ever free write?
Yeah, that's usually how I get it back. Is I just kind of free associate and just let things ramble
Yeah.
until I suddenly see the absurdity in it all. Uh, and
Or
yeah,
like make that like connection or like why.
yeah,
I love finding the why and things.
yeah. Also, gonna ha- I'm gonna try this. If you start noticing this in my material, know where it came from, which is
Yeah.
uh, going through, because I've always been like I did the Dabs for Dollars game show thing. So going through things like a box of Trivial Pursuit for ideas for jokes, because there is a ton of stuff. It's written for you, right? It's all the premises are there in terms of it's some piece of general knowledge that people should know, right? So it's all
Yeah.
relatable material.
Yeah.
Now you get to play with it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
yeah, so if you start noticing me pulling stuff from Trivial Pursuit, yeah, that's where you hear it here first.
Are you gonna do like a whole show? You should do a show.
I'll probably do something with it. Yeah, I'm trying to do an adaptation of a game show right now where I can do it remotely. Like I don't know if you know Theo Manhattan.
Yes.
Yeah, he just started a game show called Dollard, where he'll Venmo people $1 for every question they get right, doing a trivia show. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, really cool. So I had my game show that I tried to get off the ground, Dabs for Dollars, and I'm trying to figure out is there a way to do some other spin off of that remotely. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. People like trivia,
Oh yeah,
right?
people love trivia. Trivia's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I'm into
Yeah,
it. Whether you get it right or not.
yeah.
Do you have you ever when was the last time do you have a trivia thing next to you? Do you have it?
No,
Trivia?
I've got to go get one. I'll have to order it off Amazon whenever they deliver that 6 months from now. Uh,
Seriously, everything
yeah.
seems so long.
Well, it's because if it's not essential, they're not shipping it. So
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
I
exactly.
totally get. Like, I don't need it. It's not killing me if I don't have it tomorrow. So whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah. But that's the thing. Having the lockdown is really great for kind of my musing, my creative musing, where I'm just like, oh, what goofy stuff can I come up with that I wouldn't otherwise think of because I'm just bored sitting around the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like it's such a good point because now you have time to just dabble and play and like
Yeah.
anything's up for grabs pretty much.
Yeah. And that's the thing about writer's block. I think it's not allowing yourself the room to be wrong or like to fail. It's like
Yeah.
it's like no, it can be a success even as a failure. Like you can go down a path and be like, no, this isn't. But it opens up something else where you're like, oh no, now I know what I want to be writing. I don't want to write this. I want to write this other thing.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely helps like uncover like different concepts or different perspectives of things because you're forcing yourself to kind of think about it a different way and like how can I come at this at a point that may be entertaining. And what is great though about writer's block is that like I'll tell people like just like don't even worry about it. Like you're going to do well. Like
Yeah,
I don't think maybe like two bad sets. And I've
yeah,
been doing this show for over a year. So it's like, yeah, I've been doing it for like a year and a half. So it's like, that's pretty good odds compared to other shows. And like, people will want to see, like, as you know, we have to work and do the same jokes multiple times, work on them, do them different ways, whatever. If you're a good comic, you're going to change them a bit. And so you have a lot of friends that you'll invite out to shows. You'll have like other comics who are most likely your friends. And for them to get the opportunity to see you outside of your regular set is just like so like it's just such an easier way to like bring other people by because you're like you're gonna you're gonna see me, but this is gonna be like how you never see me before, like
Yeah.
nothing you've ever heard, and you just get like so much more of a supportive vibe from that too. It's like people want to see you do well, they want to be entertained. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoy the show. I love it, obviously, but it's mine.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. So, if the people want to find you in this downtime, in terms of writer's block, are you guys doing anything remotely? Are you posting stuff? Should they follow you
So,
just in case?
yeah, please. I have a separate Instagram for Writer's Block that I'm doing with Mandy Martino. So it's at Writer's Block Comedy. That's on Instagram. We do have a Writer's Block Comedy page on Facebook. You're welcome to find and like. That'll keep you updated. As soon as all this shit is over, guys, we're gonna be coming back strong. We did talk. I mean, we were booked out months, like months. We were booked out. Hundreds of comics wanting to be on our show, and I mean, because it's so fun.
Yeah.
And so that fire is not dying down. There's been people talking to us, like trying to get us to do it, live. And we've considered it. It's only a couple more weeks until quarantine's over. We're gonna do maybe like a small version of it, but I don't think it's gonna happen, unfortunately. I may just pick up something live if this doesn't quit when we're scheduled to at this time. But we're open to it. But this hopefully we'll be getting our show live back very soon.
Well, after this, let's talk offline, because
Yeah.
I have something for you on that whole front. It just came to me. So
Cool.
let me write this down. Sorry, audience. This is important. You got to help your friends. And
Yeah, for sure. I'm
that
all about collaborating and like working with people, and the people you have to keep by you for sure. So
Yeah, that's the thing. It's yeah, just making a do, 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 okay. Yeah, no. So yeah, always try and help people out, especially in down times, because you never know when it's going to come back to help you. And also because it's just a good thing to do.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about that offline. But okay, so we've talked a bit about writer's block. I think we've talked about a lot of stuff today. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've really enjoyed this. This has been fantastic, catching up
Me
and doing
too.
this. I'm sure my audience will enjoy it. Uh, Please follow Ashley Casanova. I'll have all your social media at the bottom there tagged.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
thanks so much for having me, Arden. Seriously, you're one of my favorite people out here, and I'm so happy to be able to connect to you during this time. And definitely thanks to anybody watching this, and hopefully future followers. But
Yeah.
either way, I'm just so happy that anybody's even listening to this and supporting comedy and the arts. And I will love to support you if you're doing anything, and hit me up if you want to collab. So you're gonna see it, but add Ash Casanova Comedy.
Yep. You'll see it there at the bottom. I want to thank all of you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, all that nonsense. But you do really make this happen. So if you don't share, I don't get seen. So yeah, but thank you very much for tuning in, Ashley. Thanks for being on. Stay on, because I'll just kill the recording and then we'll keep talking. But
Cool.
thanks everybody for staying tuned. And we'll see you next time on Coffee and Cannabis.
Thank you guys.
Goodbye. Oh, well, I smoke a little to go. All right. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
All right. Stay